What up? It's your boy T-Bird and Reaction. So about to check out today is a makeup for Wrestling Wednesday. I'm doing it on Wednesday. Well, it's midnight now, but anyway. So about to check out here for What Culture. This is called 10 Things You Learn Binge Watching Every WWE Raw from 2000. So yeah, 2000 was definitely the peak year of the Attitude Era as well. So we had a lot going on, whether it was good or even bad. So anyway, we want to check out like this peak area of Raw of the Attitude Era from What Culture Wrestling. Let's get it.
The year 2000 was one of the most successful in WWF history. We were knee-deep in the Attitude Era as wrestling was cool again, and as for the World Wrestling Federation, they were flying after finally putting the sword to WCW. Didn't really have to worry about them anymore. That didn't stop the runaway freight train it had become. There's 10 things you learn binge watching Raw from 2000. Number 10, the war takes a turn. So we just talked about this, and it is true. 2000 saw a huge change in fortunes given where we had been 2 years prior. Nitro was such a mess the WWE was able to try new things knowing they were going to win the ratings war.
Right.
And while some attempts were awful, plenty more did stick, and the fans loved it. The WWF also threw their weight behind soap opera stories, which brought us to everything between Triple H, Kurt Angle, and Stephanie McMahon. That meant we now had a damn love triangle. I do point this out just because you can see with this story that we were starting to be far more patient with things, and do not forget, the only reason this narrative did stop is because Hunter didn't like the idea that Kurt Angle would steal his girl. His ego was hurt. Didn't make for great TV though, and the company, as we know, was never gonna look back. Number 9, the Radicals weren't given a chance.
Oh, yeah.
A huge story in 2000 was the news that Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, and Eddie Guerrero had negotiated their release from WCW.
Yeah, yo, crazy thing about that though. This is for like dirt sheet. I mean, it's probably dirt sheets out like that, but wasn't like easily accessible to find out about this. So we was shocked, like, yo, what are these guys doing in WWF? They're WCW guys. I can remember not knowing they all signed with WWF at the time as well too secretly. I like how they did it though, kind of like almost a reverse of the the Outsiders with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and later on Hulk Hogan.
And were headed to the WWF. This was massive. While they had never reached their potential in World Championship Wrestling, most people knew they deserved more, so surely that was about to happen now.
They did.
And the answer is sort of. Each guy would take their own path. During their very first match they had under Vince McMahon, they lost. Yep, couldn't let this idea go that they were WCW guys. Then got worse as Eddie got injured, and honestly, go see where these four were after a few weeks. We didn't keep this momentum going at all. If we focus on Saturn and Malenko too, they never really overcame this either.
Right.
I mean, Dean soon became James Bond, and Perry fell in love with a mop.
Yeah.
Stories behind both of these, but still. I'm sure you've seen how some fans react today when so-called WWE guys go to AEW. Well, this was 10 times more crazy than all of that. Number 8, the 24/7 title concept can work. Yep, the 24/7 title was awful. If it weren't for R-Truth, who knows how bad it would have gotten. But WWE did have a reason for trying to bring it back. It had worked very well before. In 2000, Crash Holly had made this his entire gimmick, and it was great. He would always find a way to scurry away with his championship, and we actually thought about the creative bits. Go watch the spot where Gerald Briscoe is asleep. It is genuinely funny. You also get Pat Patterson and a bunch of other guys going out of their way to have fun with this. Why we didn't use it as our example, I do not know. The modern version felt like an afterthought. Truth definitely borrowed from the way Crash cared about his title, but he really was given nothing else to work with. Hence why today, as I am talking to you, that belt doesn't exist anymore. Number 7, secret tag team depth. So we know that Vince McMahon was never much of a tag team guy and often pushed two people together to break them up. That's what he did. In 2000, though, by choice or by accident, we actually had a bunch of good teams. We all remember the Hardys, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian tearing it up. But there was also the APA, Too
Yup.
Cool, Kai-En-Tai, TNA, Right to
Facts.
Censor, and a load more.
Yup.
I'm not saying all of these were capable of having barn burners, but the overall
They
level
did,
was
bro.
alright.
They
New Age
did.
Outlaws were around for a while too before Road Dogg and X-Pac joined forces, and the Roadie decided to move on to K-Quick. Oh yeah, sure, that was a bit weird. The point is, you may not be able to name as many teams in other years where WWE seemed to be doing okay. I mean, take 2021. Everybody then was saying, man, this scene needs more bodies. Well, you can go back to the year 2000. Number 6, the bizarre post-Mania Raw. So this was the year when at WrestleMania we had a McMahon in every corner. Stephanie and Shane were also doing this because they wanted to put Daddy Vince out of business. And then we got to the following Monday, and yep, all of this was totally ignored. Well, no, it was worse than that because the chairman of the board hugged his family like nothing had happened. This also led to the birth of a new corporation. What the flub was going on? Swerve was Vince screwing over The Rock to align himself with Triple H. The problem there was that we'd already seen it. McMahon and Austin had been doing this for ages. We really didn't need a round 2 with different competitors. It was just pushing things into a feud that didn't need it, because I tell you, The Rock versus Triple H was enough. If you were around at the time, though, you know the deal. We just had to talk about the McMahons as much as possible.
Yeah, I always told you that. Always said that. If I ain't care about Faces of Hell, I will say that version of DX is my least favorite DX. Cause it was literally, they was literally supposed to be against the authority, but they was with the authority with the whole McMahon Hemsley faction. Like, that was like, what was the point of going against authority? At the beginning it sounded good when they started going against Vince, but then they ended up aligning themselves with Vince. Like, what? That's not DX. Like, I will take the first iteration of DX over that as well too, and they're like my second least favorite. Only because I'm gonna say this. I always say that Reverse DX wasn't really heels. Only their initiation and their feud with Austin to where Mike Tyson situation was the only time they was really heels. Because other than that, most of the stuff they did was twins. They was going only had both faces of hell, and they was going against the authority. They like Sergeant Slaughter, what fans actually liked, so that's a different story. That's hence probably why after the Tyson thing they ended up getting moved to babyfaces later down the line as well too. But yeah, which is that version of the babyface, the 90s babyface DX is my top favorite, and second favorite is the Ruthless Aggression era one as well too though, with Shawn and Triple H. But yeah, other than that, the additional ones was cool, but the McMahon His faction is my least favorite version of DX, regardless. Not just because, and even like I said, even if I care about Facing Hill, it's still been it right there. Anyway, facts. Senseless as hell. Facts. Just did for the sake of giving somebody range. The reason I say that because a lot of people say, "Oh, that's how a wrestler get range if you turn heel." Yeah, for no fucking reason.
5, the senseless Rikishi turn. This was the era of let's do things because it's fun to do things.
Exactly.
So, yep, one day we took Rikishi, who was so over as the happy dancing guy, and turned him heel. Why? I'm not saying we shouldn't have moved him to the main event as Big Keish had gotten crazy over, but deciding he was the guy who ran over Stone Cold?
Random.
I don't know, man. It also brought us to that infamous line of, I did it for The Rock. And yeah, this didn't work. Nobody wanted to boo him, and by the time we got to Triple H taking credit, the whole thing was messy. We did try a feud with Steve Austin, but once again the audience didn't want to jeer Rikishi, so he was set to fail in many ways. When it didn't click, we didn't try again in another guise. We just moved him back to exactly where he was. This was a silly, silly move. Number 4, Foley over Shawn. It feels mad this was in the year 2000, but at one point, Shawn Michaels was the WWF commissioner.
Yep, he was.
This was mostly as the company was still paying him, so wanted HBK involved. Plus, they were keen to move on from Sergeant Slaughter, who had this role prior. If I were to guess, I don't think Michaels was much into this, as he basically disappeared towards the start of the year, when we did get a new appointment in June. Mick Foley. Difference was obvious as Foley embraced this with so much glee. He has often said since it was some of the most fun he's ever had in wrestling. Having a babyface authority figure was also a welcome change, and some of the skits Mick did with Edge, Christian, and Kurt Angle were just the best. Who knew fun could be fun? He added so much to the show that when eventually WWF decided to get rid of him, everybody was baffled. But once again, during this period, they did that a lot. Number 3, sticking with Jericho. If you've read any of Chris Jericho's books, you know the deal here. After quite the debut, he fell foul of WWF management and was basically made to start again. He went from a potential feud with The Rock to having to have a good match with X-Pac or lose his job. I would assume somebody backstage was still a fan because on the April 17th, 2000 Raw, end of the show, this was only done to get more hate for the game.
Yep.
The decision was reversed due to dodgy refereeing as Chris flew back down the card. The reaction should have told those in charge that Jericho was clearly ready to go, however.
I would say that Jericho and Triple H had an underrated feud right there.
Because this wasn't the plan, we moved on as fast as we could.
Wow.
Watching now, though, yeah, we easily could have gone all the way with this. It would have worked. Number 2, Triple H was awesome. Say what you want about one Paul Levesque. In the year 2000, he was one of the best wrestlers on the planet. His feud with The Rock was great, but he also had bangers with Jericho, Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, and even Taka Michinoku. Hunter just wanted to work. He would bump his ass off when needed to and looked incredible as he turned into an action figure. Plus, he was a right dick on the mic. Which was perfect. He was a heel. Even if you can't stand the man, you'd be hard-pressed to argue against what he was doing in this 12-month period. He was just on fire, and the only thing that halted this was that quad tear.
Oh, yeah.
Before that, I tell ya, it's quite amazing. Number 1, the lack of Steve Austin. Having Stone Cold on Raw would have been better in...
Half of it because he was like, still never recovered from that neck injury fully, man.
2000. He was the biggest star ever. You can't pretend he wouldn't have helped. With that said, the WWF was far more prepared for his absence through injury than many assumed, because for 12 months Raw was mostly pretty good TV. Episodes zipped along as we made sure to get new people over, and of course The Rock used this to become the ultimate star.
Yep.
We've mentioned Triple H already, and The Undertaker still had a great aura to him. The main event scene was solid. It could be why Austin didn't start smashing it until the 2001 Raw Rumble.
Right.
He needed to fit back into the pack before doing what he always did, taking over. Now, please do make sure to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought about Raw in 2000, because it is a pretty damn good show. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. You see that video on the screen right now? It is yet more talking about wrestling from yesteryear. My name is Cyber of What Culture, and thank you for joining me as always. And I will talk to you again very
Yeah, this was good. This was a good video from What Culture. The brought back some memory on a lot of things from that era as well too. So yeah, other than that, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bear signing off. One love.